Avowed is completely dead, which is honestly sad because I personally was looking forward to this game. I thought that this could be something very fun, very interesting, but sadly, well, it got the woke treatment essentially. A bunch of developers came out that they just want to pound the chuds. They're happy that Elon Musk doesn't like their pronouns and a lot of other sad things, including the fact that Avowed is a double A development game that costs $70 baseline, but in reality, it's gonna be 90 for most people because it's the play early access type of deal, which is predatory, and a lot of other things. Sad. This could have been a great thing. This could have been a pretty big win, but they decided to throw all of it away.
Not too long ago, Avowed finally broke its radio silence regarding the game, showing something on Twitter, and it wasn't much, to be perfectly honest. It was a very, very, very brief video with some gameplay and some instances of the character creator, as well as some minor encouragement to buy the game. And that was about it. And frankly speaking, I have a lot to say about Avowed. As many
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me. This is one of the things that I predicted that they're gonna do. That they are gonna just not show anything. Because everything they have shown so far is, well, to be brutally honest, painful and derogatory towards us gamers for the most part. The dialogues are literally, hey, random person that doesn't just appeared here. There's runes there. You know, 5 steps away from us, right at the start. Go there. There could be treasure there. Who knows? And yeah, the puzzles seem to feel like Dragon Age Pale God level of complicated. And man, Dragon Age Railgun literally insulted your intelligence for puzzles, okay? It was like this. Empty socket thing in an empty room. Thing that you can click on and move. Puzzle is open door by putting thing in. It's like, are you kidding me? This is worse than just opening a door. This is insanity, and this seemingly is gonna be Avowed with all of their explosive battles and things like that. It doesn't seem too great. And all the dialogue that we have seen so far is also just like really pitiful, really not alive at all. So there's going to be a lot of problems here. And this is why they don't want to show anything about Avowed, because, like, you know, it's like Starfield when was released, okay? Well, before it was released. Bethesda knew that people are gonna hate Starfield, so they literally showed 0.5 seconds of gameplay cut up. And even in those 0.5 seconds of gameplay, I pointed out so many things were bad, and they were. In the base game, they were actually even worse than actually they looked in the 0.5 seconds of footage. So, Avowed is effectively doing the same thing. Bethesda is most likely in charge of this project, because, well, in some way, most likely. That would be my guess. Because the reality is this is a Microsoft thing, and, well, Microsoft, when it comes to things like this, are currently kind of putting it all on Bethesda. And Bethesda has had a lot of influence over all of these minor projects that are of smaller scale for some reason. For example, Redfall, if you remember that disaster. Redfall was not a Bethesda thing. Bethesda was supposed to not be involved in the slightest, by the way. And yet, turns out, after its absolute disaster, Todd Howard goes on to an interview and says, "Oh yeah, Redfall, the thing that another studio did that had nothing to do with us, we oversaw every decision made." So I wouldn't be surprised if Avowed turns out to be the same stuff.
you might know, before certain things happened, shall we say, I was heavily invested in this game. I really, really wanted to see what was going on in this game because I'm a huge fan of the Pillars of Eternity universe, and the lore, and the story, and just the world in general. It's one of my favorite settings out there, period, full stop. So, of course, I was invested in the idea of
It could have been cool.
a continuation of that universe and setting. It's perfectly normal and logical. But a lot of things happen. Now, one thing you might notice is that Avowed recently has not been marketing very much. In fact, they haven't been marketing at all. In fact, as I just stated prior, they have effectively done zero marketing. But I want to point something out here. Even before there was no marketing for this game, there was still no marketing. I remember many conversations I had with a close friend of mine who's also very invested in the Pillars of Eternity universe, and we both were remarking half a year ago, 7 months ago, that Avowed's marketing is pretty poor. As in, they're not doing very much to promote the game, and most people don't know about the game, and even if it's a really good game that might attract a new audience, a new public that is not aware of the Pillars universe, they're not doing a great job of promoting that. So this issue goes back a while.
I don't know. I don't understand why some people talk about the, promotions not working. Like, ads don't work in a lot of cases. It is what it is, boys. And promotions don't mean shit. Did Helldivers 2 have promotions? No. Did it succeed? Hell yeah. In fact, it's probably, Sony's biggest success last year. Let's see, what else? There's so many examples of stuff not being promoted, and it's absolutely amazing. Black Myth Wukong, literally game of the year, okay? And no promotion at all. Then we have things like Concord, huge marketing budget, complete flop. No, literally, the high point of player base was the developers themselves playing it on day one launch, which was just pathetic. Cat one's out, maybe. Who knows? We're gonna see. Okay? A lot of things like that. Marketing does not mean that it's gonna be good. I forgot what was the stupid shooter game that literally bought every single big streamer to promote it, and then it flopped with like 10k sales because the game was just so bad. Promotions don't mean anything. Baldur's Gate 3. How much promotion did that game have? None. And it's one of the most successful games ever. My god.
While when it comes to the marketing. For whatever reason, the marketing for this game has been piss poor to non-existent. And the people that they get on board to talk about the game in the first instance.
Oh, also, they're not going to do any more marketing. Everyone has given up on this game. A lot of people were skeptical because this came out literally in the most wokest of times. And the first three things that you saw in this game was a black female companion, which is a red flag most of the time. Even though, again, I defended this game at the start. A lot of things could have not been easily woke. My bar for what is woke is actually higher than a lot of people. But, shit. Got completely destroyed. Pronouns in the menus and whatnot. Unlucky.
Since was Carrie Patel, the director of the game, who, by the way, I think is a very competent person when it comes to her job. But she's not really the marketing type. She talks about certain things. She's very calm. She's very pleasant to engage with as a person. But she's not a marketing person.
I don't know who that is, but if he's talking about the girl here, she has a septum piercing.
And so you had a bunch of developers talking about the game and how cool it is, but they really weren't communicating the coolness factor to the audience very well. That was the first issue. Then there were complaints of gameplay jank, which Obsidian apparently worked on and improved on, by all accounts, based on people having played the game at least a couple of hours in some cases. And then there was another big issue, the price point. 70 euros, or USD if you happen to live in Freedom Land, for this game, which seems a tad bit overpriced, all things considered. I think 60 euros would be a much more justified price for the game, but it turns out it's very likely that Microsoft probably wants this game to be played primarily on Game Pass. It seems to be the case. We can only speculate, but it seems...
The Game Pass thing is such a lie. Microsoft does not... it's just an excuse for Microsoft to throw all these games that are going to fail miserably under the bus and try to save face. Oh, Starfield was supposed to be a Game Pass thing. Okay, well, fine. You know what? Not gonna argue. Starfield was supposed to be a Game Pass thing, sure. Okay? Then there's the next game. Oh, it was supposed to be a Game Pass thing, and it did great. Okay, sure. It was supposed, yeah, sure. It's a Game Pass thing, but whatever. You know, I'm pretending to be the average guy who literally knows nothing about finances. Then there's the third time. Oh, this game was supposed to be a Game Pass thing. Okay, but you know, all of these big titles, these super huge things that you are saying are really, really successful and good, and they're supposed to be Game Pass things, and they have zero numbers on Steam, even though Game Pass is actually also used on Steam and PC, which is, you know, questionable. But whatever. So why are your Game Pass numbers reportedly below what you want? Why is Game Pass not actually making the money that you want? Why are you yourself reporting the Game Pass is effectively failing? Why? Why? You said these games are a success. You said that these three big titles are supposed to be Game Pass hits. So why is your Game Pass not making money on your and you report that you're on your own? Everyone knows the lies. Everyone knows that Game Pass has nothing to do with this. It's just a way to write off failures, and that's it.
To be the case, so who knows? So you had bad marketing to non-existent marketing. You had a very high price point for this rather obscure game. And then towards the end of last year, as many of you know, we had a Twitter outburst by none other than one Matt Hansen, the art director for Avowed, who went on a tirade or multiple tirades in a way that was...
Wasn't it on Blue Skies, though?
Very, very inappropriate for a professional, and above all, for a professional game developer whose position is art director at a company. I'm not going to go into the details, but let's just put it this way. Matt Hansen likes to, quote-unquote, own the chuds. And that came about as a result of, for some reason, the revelation that there are pronouns in the character creator of Avowed, which is a bit surprising, all things considered, because they seem to be a later addition to the game. Previous renditions of the game that we looked at in the character creator had nothing about pronouns. So it seems like they...
When people were allowed to play Avowed and YouTubers got their copies, they were forbidden to show the character creator. Everyone skipped it because it had pronouns in it instantaneously. You don't even have the option to pick or not pick them. You just have to have pronouns. There's nothing you can do about it.
They were kind of jammed in there for some reason, most likely for a political reason, and unsurprisingly, the usual crowd picked up on this. Now, mind you, the usual crowd had absolutely no interest in this game, because, as I said, Avowed, like it or not, is an obscure niche game in an obscure niche.
That's not true. The usual crowd is just people who don't like this stuff being pushed in games. And that is literally the absolute super vast majority of gaming. Now I know. But I saw a study that said that 50% of women are gamers. Yeah, so have I, but I have never somehow magically found these women gamers that you are talking about. But Wizards of the Coast reported that 50% of the Magic player base is also women. Yeah, I also heard that about it. I have literally only seen 2 women in my entire life who play Magic. And I'm not even sure they play Magic. I just know that they're women because they comment on my videos. That's it. And I don't know if that's even true. I assume they're women because of the avatars, the names, and the comments. So, you know, again, all of this is lies.
Universe, the Pillars of Eternity universe, Aora. But they picked up on this, and like sharks drawn to blood, they went for the jugular, so to speak. And they talked about this extensively, and as a result of this, Matt Hansen went live on Twitter and lost his mind.
To be completely fair, this wasn't extensively. Avowed was... It was the typical circle of game, okay? Avowed comes out, I am excited. I make video, Avowed excited, looks good, I want to play. Information drops, Avowed suddenly in danger. I make video, Avowed in danger. Doesn't look good, maybe problems. Developers Volksberg out, Avowed bad. It is what it is. But everyone forgot about Avowed in like a week. It just vanished because no one cared. It was pretty over for it.
And insulted a bunch of people and acted in the inappropriate manner that I just described. And ever since then, there's been radio silence until now, until recently, with a little bit of video footage and some instances of the character creator, albeit without pronouns. Now, there's a lot to be said about Avowed, and I feel like it's appropriate I talk about it because I was heavily invested in this game years ago. The game started with this instance of a dark trailer that looked very cool. It was a cinematic, but nonetheless looked very cool. This idea of returning to the dark tones of the original Pillars of Eternity game seemed to be very much on display in this trailer. And then, a couple years later, instead of the dark, epic tone we got in that original trailer, instead we got kind of fruity, Fruit Loops, colorful something something. It looked very reminiscent, very similar to The Outer Worlds. And let me say at the outset that I'm inclined to think, I have no proof or evidence, this is my speculation, but I think it is educated speculation, that Matt Hansen, in no small part, the art director, who went on a lunatic tirade on Twitter, was responsible for the shift in art direction. Even if Avowed had been a smaller game, not as epic, not as open world as many people had speculated and hoped.
Also, this is a small thing. When Avowed first dropped and we noticed, well, there were like trailers, there were things like that, there was a little bit of gameplay. I liked the art direction way more. Now that I don't know if this was actually a shift or what, but I liked Avowed's art because it did something that not a lot of games do. And that is actually have environments that make sense. Okay? Because nowadays modern art direction design is like super fucking shit. Everything looks the same, okay? You go in a cave, there's some kind of stupid fungus looking thing there, and that stupid fungus thing is also going to be in a completely different place, on the rocks outside, on trees, there, also there. Like, it's all the same thing, just meandering and buckling about constantly. That's how most environments in games are nowadays. There is no distinction between flora, fauna, or anything anywhere. And Avowed had that at the beginning. You had things that were you had vegetation that was only in caves. You have specific vegetation that was, more complex than your typical shitty fucking desert sand. And actually, it just actually looked like a real world. I like that. But now I'm watching a lot of stuff and it's like, for example, this cave. You got glowy shit, you have vines, and it's genetic as fuck.
Hope for, a la Skyrim or what have you. I still think that the tone of the game, the atmosphere, the art assets, all these things could have been darker, grimmer, and conveyed a different message. And I think that Matt Hansen is probably responsible for shifting the gears and pushing Avowed in a very colorful, fruity direction.
Yeah, look at this. This is inside a cave, and there's just this random fucking vine growing inside of it, but no light, no anything. It's like, I hate design like this. New World, the game that everyone hated, it had a beautiful looking world, and one of the reasons why it had a beautiful looking world? Because it didn't have vines growing in caves that need sunlight for no reason. It didn't have all these random things. The world actually looked good because it looked like a real place. The whole of the rest of the game was shit, but
to take away from the seriousness, potentially, of this game. Which is not to say that the game isn't serious or couldn't be serious. It's just that when you have these very bright, bombastic colors, and the color palette is always in your face, it's a little hard to take the game seriously in terms of the dark tone and tenor. It still could be...
Yeah, look, everything's like a vine, but then there's rock. Like, okay, So you have this magical wine that doesn't need sunlight to grow, and it just grows on solid fucking rock? Okay. But why is the vine here, but not here? Like, why hasn't it taken over everything? You know, small things like this, in conjunction, make the game feel good or bad.
Be that way. There could be places in the game that are like that, who knows? But I strongly suspect that he was responsible for that in large measure. He is the art director at the end of the day. And the game just looked a lot different than what we had expected, and a lot of people were disappointed. But me and my boundless optimism, no, it's not really optimism, but my interest in the setting, Aora, thought, okay, it doesn't look amazing, but maybe they'll still tell a cool story, maybe they'll still show us cool combat. It will just be a different type of game. Even if it's like Outer Worlds doesn't look terrible, so I guess I can live with that kind of thing. They showed the combat and
I actually forgot what the storylines were gonna be, because we kind of have a little bit of information about this and the factions that you can ally yourself with, and it seems super generic. It's factions that shouldn't be friends with each other and want to kill each other, but that's not really happening. You know, it's all of the generic, oh, look at these completely different factions that somehow are all fine with each other, and actually they're all the exact same fucking thing at the end of the day. And my bet is currently that no faction is going to be bad, because modern role-playing games are literally plagued with the fact that for some reason you can't be the bad guy. Like, there are no objectively evil choices to be made.
improved on it, and they showed the skill system, which is this weird mesh of different skills from Pillars of Eternity 2 rolled into one. So you don't play a class, but basically you play as you want and choose the skills you want. Almost certainly due to budget limitations, I suspect, but they made the best of it. But there are a couple of things at play here that I really want to address. A bunch of people think that Matt Hansen's tirade and his loss of sanity on Twitter has nothing to do with the radio silence, nothing to do with the lack of marketing. It's just something that happened and nobody cares about that. That's not true.
Of course not.
Games need marketing. A lot of people are operating under the false notion, I think, that if a game is good, it'll sell itself just like that. People cite Baldur's Gate 3. That's not really the case. Baldur's Gate 3 had...
I mean, it is the case. I'm sorry, but this is just fact. It is the case. All the giant games that have massive marketing and fail, why they fail? Because people don't want to play them. And all of these games that have no marketing but succeed, how do they fucking succeed? That's because they're good. That is it. People will talk about the good games. People will find the good games. People will play the good games. It is unavoidable.
Had very strategic, very well-placed marketing. You had multiple panels from hell during the development. You had the bear scene. You had a lot of things that drove the public towards the game.
Yeah, but you understand how... that's not actually, by the way, even real marketing. That is something you can do for cheap. That's not... that. Honestly, in my opinion, that does not even deserve to be classified as real marketing. Real marketing is, you know, when you have campaigns, you have fucking a booth at the Gamescom and shit like that. That is marketing. The bear stuff and whatnot, that is literally an upload to YouTube that an intern can do for free.
Independent of the high quality of the game. So this idea in 2025 that you don't need marketing for a game is ludicrous. Let's just set that aside. But like it or not, people do take these political insults, this political aggression on the part of developers seriously. It's not professional. He should have shut his mouth and said nothing. You know, on YouTube, there's a woman named Laura Fryer, who's a well-known developer. She worked on Gears of War, among other games, and she's left a number of comments and made a couple of videos on this very topic, and she stresses the importance of professionalism. That is your job as a professional anywhere, to not resort to childish outbursts, to not fall prey to your base human instincts, your lack of self-control, your anger issues. they needed to do that, and he didn't. And in response, by the way, there were leaks on this. Fergus Urquhart, the CEO of Obsidian, told him and his entire crew just to lie low. Don't say anything, let it blow over. Now, that's not a bad tactic.
That is a bad tactic. After this happens, I mean, shit. Blood pays for blood. Fire him, or I don't believe anything. Okay? After this, the only thing that's gonna make me believe that your whole company is not of the same stupid, shitty belief is if you fire him. Straight out. No questions, no nothing, just fire. Unless that person gets fired of the Twitter spurg, your whole company represents him. The fact that he doesn't even get punished or anything, that is just not gonna work. Well, in any case, Avowed is definitely cooked. There's nothing to be done. I don't know how much Avowed is gonna sell, but it's well, Obsidian. Good luck. The outer wilds, the outer worlds, all I guess. Good luck with that. You're gonna need it, because I watched that stuff, and yeah, you literally did not understand the reasons why people did not like the first Outer Worlds. Okay? And your solution now is, hey, let's ignore every feedback piece that was pretty critical of us and that people agreed with, and just add new weapons! Don't you like weapons in a role-playing game? What? Shitty dialogue is not good, but new weapons! Yeah, it's gonna be an absolute disaster. Anyway, that was a Spell and Shield 10 out of 10. Bye!